can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Present.
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilman Wynn.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Here.
Town Attorney Genesi.
For the last time, present.
And this will go down in history as the Charlie Genesi Board meeting, okay? What we do not have on the agenda tonight is something that we would like the Honorable Town Attorney of many years, Charlie Genesi, to come up to the podium along with members of his family and friends. Yes, no, Barbara, you, come on, you got it.
Barb, you got it.
You got it.
You got it.
You got it. I don't want to put you on the spot, Barbara. I almost want you to read this.
I can't read.
You can't read. Oh, that's interesting. Your husband's been trying to teach me how to read Latin for the last 5 years. Do I still have a C average in your class in Latin, Joe?
Got it.
I've gotten better? Okay, okay, nunc pro tunc. Well, listen, I will say, everybody who is watching live at home or is here in the audience or is watching this on tape, Charlie Genesi has been the town attorney in Webster for, is it close to 30 years, Charlie?
Before you were born.
Well, yeah, you know, in dog years.
Actually, 26.
26, okay, well, I rounded up. And I got to say that, you know, I didn't meet Charlie until 5 years ago when I became supervisor, and just a super guy, a super human being. He's been great. I think what he's done for this town is something you can't really, you can't quantify. But with that being said, we have a proclamation for you, Charlie, for outstanding public service. And this is presented to Charles Genesi, and I'm going to read it the best I can in English, not in Latin. We have a Latin version for you to, you know, later on, Charlie. But whereas Charles Genesi is retiring in December of 2024 after 29 years of dedicated service to the town of Webster, and whereas Charlie, as he's affectionately known, was on the staff of the Legal Aid Society in Rochester from September 1972 to November of 1976. He served as an assistant attorney general in the Rochester Regional Office of the New York State Department of Law from November of 1976 to June of 1978. Charlie was then hired by Monroe County and held various titles. He was promoted to deputy county attorney in 1988. And whereas Charlie served in the United States Air Force and was honorably discharged, we thank him for his service to our country. And whereas between January of 1990 and March of 1996, Charlie served as the town of Webster through the Zoning Board of Appeals as a member, secretary, and acting chairman. On August 6, 1998, he was appointed town attorney and has been in the position through his coming retirement. And whereas Charlie's comprehension of the many projects through the years and his institutional knowledge have been invaluable to all the staff in the town of Webster, and whereas Charlie's compassion for people is palpable and is seen in his various positions, including counsel to the Monroe County Children's Center and Social Services Council, and pro bono work he has done for the Just Cause organization since 1998. And whereas Charlie's long and accomplished career in public service has been supported by his wife Barbara and their two children, Amanda and Charles, he has served not only as town attorney, but also as a trusted advisor and true friend to all. Charlie's tireless work and commitment to the town of Webster have not gone unnoticed. His engaging laughter and kind smile will be remembered fondly as he retires. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on the occasion of Charles Genesi's retirement as the supervisor of the town of Webster, on behalf of the Webster Town Board and the entire Webster community, we extend our sincerest wishes to Charlie for a long, happy, and healthy retirement. It is my honor to pronounce December 20th, 2024 as Charles Genesi Day in the town of Webster.
As has been said, if you want to give a good speech, be sincere, be brief, and be seated, so I'm going to make this real quick. It's been a blessing to me, to be honest, to work with all of you. There's a lot of very fine people that I've worked with over the years, and many of them are right here in this room. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've had. That's all I can say. I've worked with a terrific group of individuals, talented individuals, 3 terrific supervisors. The town is very well governed, very well administered by talented, hardworking, and incorruptible people. So, anyway, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
And Barbara, I hope you don't mind that, as I was reading that, retirement, I don't see Charlie as retired because where the position of town attorney is, I think, a pseudo full-time position. Charlie's still, I think, going to be doing legal work for the town of Webster, correct?
Right.
So I know Donna Komar, who was up presenting earlier, really is happy with the work that you've done over the years for the Board of Assessment Review, which is more in the May, June timeframe. And I don't know, Barbara, if you guys are going south in January and February, but we're, I think, getting something from him about what his scope of work he'll be doing is going to be. We're expecting that. We don't see you as riding off into the
No,
sunset.
that's true.
Okay, so
Yes.
just so everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
You're gonna still
I'll
see his
still be
smile
around.
and all that. But probably a lot less stressed.
I will tell you though, when you were reading all that, I was thinking, this really dates me, but there used to be a show called This Is Your Life.
Oh, I remember it.
That's what I felt like when
Yeah.
I was up there, so.
No, I mean, that's, hey. Well, and I will say one last thing on this. It's the position of a town attorney is something that over the years for larger towns, and Webster is definitely a larger town, has kind of gone by the wayside because law firms now handle the legal demands of a town this size, 45,000 people, and the different complexities and all that. So, in a lot of ways, Charlie, you're the last of the Mohicans of, I don't know who was town attorney before, but us moving into a law practice that has 3 people doing the job you used to do.
But you've seen it in your 5 years. You've seen the explosion of the breadth and depth of projects that the town has undertaken, and that everybody who's worked here has seen the same thing, including the town attorney. So yeah, it's a different job than it was when I began.
It would have to be. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of attorneys in my business and all that, and I used to, Barbara, I'm sorry, I joke with Charlie that, Charlie, are you getting paid like 37 cents an hour for the time you're putting in? I hope you don't have a workers' comp, or not workers, not comp, but yeah, you're not gonna have.
It's going up to 75.
There you go. As long as I think the funniest part is that you had to redline and look at the new law firm's contract and tell me, I don't sign anything that is a contract without Charlie looking at it. I just won't do that. So now when Charlie puts his proposal forward for his legal services, the new law firm will look at it and tell me if it's okay. They just switched hats. He had to look at the new law firms and tell me what was okay and not. And now, 10 days later, they'll look at yours. It's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't belabor the point, John. I don't want to lose the
And
bet. even
excuse
though we
me,
don't have a bet.
Supervisor, but
Yes.
as they switched hats, Charlie just
Yeah,
put his
and,
on, so.
Boy, Kyle is going to have to know if Kyle Taylor is going to be sitting in that seat as more general municipal. Are you going to coach him on the fact that you're going to have to wear good ties, Kyle? You're
better
going to
have a-
have to be seasonal and whatever.
A good tie collection, yes.
You're not.
Maybe
gonna
I can talk him into buying mine.
That's,
Oh, there we go.
That's one way to make a buck in retirement. Anyway, well, let's continue on with the Charlie Genesi board meeting. I didn't go out and look, Deneen, and we had nobody signed in for the next section, the open to the floor, where each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes to opine on anything, but I'm guessing unless someone's behind the beam, I think that is, everybody's out Christmas shopping. So, Deneen, do you think we can say we are done with that? Okay, Deneen keeps on the tradition that we have 2 minutes for board meeting minutes, workshop and meeting from 2 weeks ago. And I've reviewed those minutes. I make a motion that we approve the December 5th, 2024 workshop minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilman Wright.
Aye.
And the same, I looked at the minutes of the December 5th, 2024 regular board meeting and make a motion we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilman Wright.
Aye.
John, was this you again?
It was. So I did review the bills and found them to be in order, and I would move that we pay the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilman Wynn,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
And I went through the prepaid warrants as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance, and make a motion we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
And I also went over the purchase orders as submitted by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance, and make a motion that we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Now, the next two, I feel like I'm stepping into Paul's position too much tonight, but the next two resolutions have to do with the soft cost associated with the Sandbar Park restaurant building. And I just want to give some context to this. At the board meeting on March 21st of this year, about 9 months ago, we actually passed 2 resolutions. They were Resolution 129 of 2024 to have Passer Associates provide architectural design services for the proposed restaurant, and a contract not to exceed $118,500. And then we also did Resolution 128 for 2024 on that same date for, am I missing this? For campus construction and their services. Well, I think if anybody who watches these workshops and board meetings and attends over the last 9 months, we've had a lot of presentations at workshops and things of that nature. We had the bids that were open, 20 of them back in October on this restaurant, and unfortunately, the price was a little too much.
A little bit.
And because of that, these resolutions are to close out those contracts. We did not reach the full price of those contracts with those 2 firms, probably because we are not proceeding on with the project at this time. And I want to stress that at this time. A brick and mortar, affixed to a foundation, John, you're more the construction person. 20 bids is a very robust bid process, and it does not make sense at this time. Whether it makes sense again in a year, 5 years, I can't comment on that. But I do know that I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for once we get out of the holidays in the January, February of next year, to look at options for food and or drink at Sandbar Park as early as the summer of 2025. But it's not going to be a building that's affixed to a foundation and brick and mortar. So as we know, I won't get into details, there's a lot of other options that you can sling hash and serve ice cream and drinks without having a permanent building. So we'll see where that goes. But, any questions on these 4 and 5?
No.
So I make a motion to close out the campus construction management, to do pre-construction bid development on the restaurant building at Sandbar Park and have,
You can't do that
That-
motion because you
that-
have to sign
Naughty,
the
naughty.
contract?
I think that's a misnomer. I don't have to sign anything. I think we just
To
are.
close it out, right?
Yeah, sorry. There is no contract to sign. I'm sorry, I should have
I
seen that.
wasn't sure if you had to sign a closeout contract.
I don't think so. But you know what? If somebody else wants to do it,
I
then I'll
will move
circle
to
back.
close out the campus construction management to do pre-construction bid development on the restaurant building at Sandbar Park and have the supervisors sign contract.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Nguyen?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
All right.
Councilwoman Wren?
Aye.
So I'll move to close out the Passero Associates to do the engineering design of the restaurant building at Sandbar Park and have the supervisor sign the contract.
Second.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wren?
Aye.
Pat, do you want to come up and say anything about these? I know this is kind of a housekeeping item almost every December of what roads are at a point of temporary and permanent.
Yeah, kind of a housekeeping thing, but I can answer any questions. So each year, the developments that go on in town where there's new houses that get put in, new roads get built by the contractors. If those roads get to a certain point of construction and there's gonna be people living on them, we take either temporary or full dedication of them so that we can provide, mostly snow plowing services. At that time, they're usually still under a certain level of construction, so a lot of the maintenance remains the responsibility of the contractor, but we take over snow removal services to ensure that they're done at the right level to ensure public safety. So this is the list for this year, and a few of the developments around town where it makes sense at this time to take over those aspects of the road. So we do resolutions to complete that. Right in the last meeting of the year. But we get them
Yeah.
in, and that way when the snow does come, we're ready to go.
Thanks, Pat.
Any
Nope.
comments or
If
questions?
there
Jennifer,
are
you
no
want to do it?
questions, I will move to accept temporary dedication of roads within the town of Webster. There was an attached list that was included in the packet, I presume, and also
Yes.
is on the website, so I will not read the full
Yep.
list. There are six roads where we are taking temporary dedication.
That's your motion?
Is that the motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wren?
Aye.
And I would move to accept permanent dedication of roads within the town of Webster, attached list. There are four roads. This I'll read, there's Les, Grand Meadow Way, Quail Creek Drive, Alyssa Way, and Allison Lane.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Councilman Wren?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
And Pat, I don't want to put you on the spot, but these temporary and permanent are about 1.5 miles of aggregate lane miles or roads. How many lane miles does your department maintain in Webster now?
So for winter operations, so for snow and ice, it's different, because we contract with the county and the state to do snow and
Right.
ice removal on their roads that are within our limits. That lane mile is over 400 lane miles within the boundaries of the town, not including the village, about 400 lane miles. About 276 of those are town roads, which is what these dedications are. These mileages get recorded with the state DOT, and it does impact the funding that the town gets for both CHIPS and compensation for snow and ice removal. So that's the importance of having that information in here and getting it recorded in the record is, Allison actually just today sent in our winter proposal, which is about 2 or 3 inches thick,
Yeah.
to each of those agencies for us to perform those services. And it adjusts the amount of revenue that the town gets, depending on the lane miles that we do. But yeah, over 400 lane miles, which we're operating on about an 18 truck route, so that we can clear all 400 of those miles in generally less than 4 hours at a time. Which, when it's snowing at 2
Amazing.
inches an hour, it's still too slow. But you know, we're working through it.
It's pretty impressive. Okay, let's just put it out there.
And-
It's pretty impressive.
It's unbelievable, and what, 130 cul-de-sacs, which really challenge, because if there weren't the circles, the cul-de-sacs were built, you probably could get through those lane miles a lot quicker.
Yeah, you get a lot more lane miles going down 104 than you do through our neighborhoods in an
Yeah.
hour. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Well, the next one, it's sewer related, and this was the presentation by Aaron Ryan earlier from Barton and LaJudas. So I don't know, Patty, if you.
I'm certainly willing to read this. We don't have a dollar amount on this because we don't know where it's going to fall, whether they're going to look at it as an emergent, DEC would look at it as an emergency or not. But we'll still be looking at estimates, I assume, once we get the permitting done. So we'll know whether we're going out to bid or we're looking at 2 different companies. And you're going to bring a recommendation to us either way, correct?
That's correct, right. The
And-
first step would be to do this emergency resolution and also to sign the agreement with B&L.
Right, so then later we would be looking at approving the cost of such emergency repair, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I would move to authorize an emergency repair fix project on the Shipbuilder Creek sanitary sewer conveyance pipe.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilman Wynn.
Aye.
So Jennifer, this is yours, but before we do it, is there any way, I do need to lose some weight. Should I go to 15,000 doors in 2025 as part of the PR education on a revaluation? Or Charlie, do you suggest that that would not be a good idea?
You'd have to get more than another pair of shoes, too, if you're gonna do that.
I would suggest that for the quarterly newsletter, when you talked about putting it in, maybe a couple of the quarterly issues,
Yeah.
that it actually be the cover of it, because we all know what happens when people see, you've
That's
got
a great
about
idea.
3 seconds before you toss it if you're not interested. So big, bold letters,
Revale or whatever.
yes.
Where did Bridget
Here
go?
it comes.
Well, if you walk that
Because-
far, I think you would probably lose more than 25 pounds.
Ooh, I
I
might
think I
do
lost 15 pounds doing like what was it, a quarter of that?
So we'll figure that out as we get through it. Let's authorize the,
Well, and I want to be honest, like when the other
Firm
supervisors
first.
are like, you'll never be able to avoid this and that. I'm competitive. I'm like, oh yeah? Watch us.
Yeah, that's
Watch Webster
that's all they
be
need to
the
say.
shining beacon of how to do it and have it just kind of go very smooth.
I hope you're right.
Okay.
I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer?
So I would move to have the supervisor sign a contract by December 31st, 2024 with KLW Municipal Incorporated. Do I have to put the amount in there?
Well, I was curious about that because we had 411,500,
Yeah.
but then there could be extras, so,
We had talked
not-
that over. We said, do the
The
not
base
to
amount?
exceed
Not to
411,
exceed,
because
yeah.
we can always come back later to amend.
okay.
Whether it'll
Yeah.
be used ARPA money when we amend for those other things, Paul wasn't really sure, but
Sure.
I'll
Yeah,
second
so-
that motion.
Oh, thank you. I was just gonna repeat what you just said, but.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty,
aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
And you got it at 411,500, okay.
And then I would move to approve the following items for recycling from the Highway Department. There are 4 items. Oh, I don't. oh,
You don't have to read them.
Okay, 4 items.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
And I would move to approve the following for recycling from the sewer department. Again, we have the list in front of us. There are 4 items. That's my motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilman Wynn.
Aye.
Darn it, I should have bet Councilman
we go.
Cahill today, but we're not done yet.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know, I mean, ifs and buts, candy and nuts, right? I do get a kick out of the fact that, you know, I bet you Charlie at his first board meeting 28 years ago was very specific on everything. Now his last board meeting is, you don't have to read it. You don't have to read it. It's a nuclear reactor, don't worry about it, you know what I mean?
It was an Electrolux small refrigerator. Do they even make those anymore?
I think
No.
that you made the right call, Charlie, you know, that was a seasoned sage
I
advice.
want to say something though about the reval and about perception, because people always refer to the assessor as the tax assessor, which they are not, and it's gonna be a major thing. They have nothing to do with the taxes per se, okay?
Right.
The other thing is, if you saw, I hate to point it out, but it's our official newspaper, if you saw the headline
I did.
today. And what did they say? They talked about,
Tax.
they showed a picture of, and they referenced to taxes.
Yes, property tax.
Property tax, it has nothing to do with property, I mean, it does indirectly.
Indirectly, yeah.
And this is where your education.
misconception.
come in.
Right.
You know, people have to be educated as to what exactly an assessment does and the purpose of it, is to divvy up the tax bill. It's not to increase taxes.
This is a fun, because Councilman Cahill said, you know, that in years past, and he's right, you know, they would, the elected officials would come out and say, hey, we lowered your tax rate
Yeah.
from $5 per thousand to $3 per thousand. But then they found that to be a great way to go and increase your taxes.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
And not to be
And-
cynical, but that's exactly
Yes,
what a
that
number of
was the
places
lever.
have done,
Right.
yeah.
Can't really do that anymore because the 2% tax cap, if your levy goes up more than 2% or whatever each year, that's kind of like we gotta get a super majority. I mean, that's an event. You can't just slide it in like, you know, hey, we'll bring in $10 million more of taxes, but we'll tell the community, but we lowered your tax
I
rate
think
$5
we did that once,
to
didn't we?
$3.
Just once, I think.
What was that?
Super majority over the cap. I
We
believe.
did, once.
Yeah, because I know I did the resolution, but yeah.
Yeah, but,
Not while you were here.
yeah. No, but, well, it's roundtable. We could just have it be the Charlie Genesi hour for the next 15
Yes.
minutes, you know what I mean? And you know what, Charlie? That's not a bad, you know what?
That's a
Charlie,
great
come
idea.
on, man. Some funny stories over the
Oh,
last
please,
29 years.
put
What
me on
is
the
it, you know,
spot.
you've
Funny
seen some
story.
stuff. I mean, you know.
I never realized until this evening that you were in the Air Force.
It's only a very short time. It was only a very short time. It's a strange situation. I was ROTC in college.
You were what?
ROTC.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I was commissioned the day I graduated from college, but because I was going to law school, they allowed me not to
Oh, nice.
go in right away. When I finished law school, they were de-Vietnamizing the war.
Okay.
People were there was a very large commitment of men, mostly men, but of personnel in the military. But between 1971 72, they started pushing people out, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So they said, well, you can go in, but we give you the option. You can go in for 4 years, or you can come in for 3 months. So, yeah.
How long did you think about that?
Yeah.
So, you can guess what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was in, it's almost, when I talked, I have a lot of friends who are, what I say, real veterans, okay?
Right.
And so I tell them, I said, I don't even I mean, I am, but I'm,
Right.
you know, I was in ROTC for a number of years, and I was.
Well, there's dedication to
I
that.
was enlisted.
Well, you
I was
got
enlisted.
commissioned out as
I got
as
the
a
honorable
first
discharge,
lieutenant
I went
or
9 yards, yeah.
second lieutenant? Is that? is
No,
it
I
the
was
same?
actually, by the time I got out, I was commissioned a second lieutenant. I was actually a captain. It's ridiculous.
How'd you do
as
that?
Wow.
Because I was just in. Like I say, it's not anything. I didn't accomplish anything. I'm saying this honestly. It has nothing to do with my accomplishments, so.
Captain Genesi, had we had known,
Yeah.
you know?
The
Well, I-
things you find
The
out.
things you find
Yeah.
out, and I
I
will
know,
say
like I
that.
say, but it's almost embarrassing, because I have I mean, my father was a combat veteran of World War II, my grandfather was a World War I veteran, right? So I'm like almost embarrassed to say that, yeah, it was,
I bet you your father and grandfather would be very happy you didn't go over to Vietnam.
I think you're correct. My
Yeah.
father definitely was.
And it's, I
Yeah.
say it's funny, but, you know, 3 of my daughters have done the
Mhm.
ROTC thing and come out, and what they do with those second lieutenants when they come out now, they train them for a year in leadership and whatever, and it all goes back to, they were sending these second lieutenants, 22 years old, coming out of college, over to Vietnam and saying,
There you
lead
go.
this troop, lead this, what do you call it, on the
Well,
SWAT,
yeah.
right? And like, these guys had been over there for a year, and you got this pimply-faced 22-year-old kid coming over, trying to tell him what to do. That was a disaster. And I think the military learned from that and said, you know, we can't just throw some 22-year-old, you know, who's been at West Point or in college into that. We have to kind of bring them up a little
Oh, yeah,
differently, so.
they've made a lot of improvements, I think, in the
Yeah.
way things were managed. I mean, we could go on about that, how that war was managed for a
Yeah.
long time.
Crazy.
Anyway, yeah. But I have really enjoyed working with all of you and with the town, of course, so.
Well, Charlie, I've known you for a number of years, and I just thank you for all the advice you've given me over the years. And you know, come to you with
Some
some.
of it legal, too.
Yeah, yeah, some of it. But I just really appreciate your friendship, your candor, and again, the advice you've given me over the years. You're very,
Well, thank you.
you're a very honest and sincere person, and I think that's what most people that know you glean from you. You're very even-tempered, also. So, thank
Some
you.
people may disagree with that.
Well, I think, and Johnny's been a great referee for you and I at times.
Yes,
When
he
our
has.
Irish tempers get
Yeah.
the best of us,
Yeah.
and he's had a step in between, which, you know, has probably been good. We appreciate that, Charlie, you know, because both of us are too old to be throwing punches at each other, I think.
I'm gonna miss this, Charlie. And also, over the years, you know, almost 2 decades we know each other,
Yeah.
but you still look the same. You know, your lovely wife still look the same,
Thank you.
so it's an honor and privilege to have
Well,
known
thank you.
you and to be working with you. I appreciate that.
Thanks. You're all too kind.
I get in trouble with HR. I'm not going to out you on your age, but I remember when I found out your age, it's something in the water here, because like Paul Adams, I won't say what his age is. Does he look his age?
No.
Paul Adams looks like he's 40. I'm not going to, I couldn't believe it, because you look and act 20 years younger.
Well, that's because I acted like an immature kid when I was a kid, as
Well,
my
you
parents
know,
would tell me, and so I continued, you know.
It's worked well for you.
Second childhood, I
Well,
guess.
there's something to say for staying engaged and continuing to work and stay active.
Yes.
How important that is for your health and staying young.
Charlie, it's been an absolute honor. It's been a delight to sit next to you for all of these meetings. I've valued your advice, and most importantly, I value our friendship. And I know that this
Thank
we'll still see each other,
Oh, we will.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I certainly wish you and Barb nothing but the best as you dip your toe into retirement.
Thank you.
And I don't care what your legal advice is that I have to close out the meeting. I'm not. It's going to be your call.
Thank you. All right, well, this meeting is adjourned.